this is a very special video today because we get to be in the studio with someone very special, someone that I've loved, admired, and definitely learned from him for a very long time. And that's Steve Porcaro, a legend to me. And Steve has graciously offered to show us his personal techniques that he's used on so many massive hits. And we're going to get in there.
Welcome, Anthony.
Thank you so much, Steve. I mean, it's been so long, us crossing paths for so many decades, and just recently getting a chance to get to know each other.
Great.
And it's so special to me because we have so much in common.
Yes.
And I just love watching you work, and it's like the same tools, but like in a completely different artistic way. Similar, but unique to you. And so it means so much to me, and I just learn every time I'm watching it.
I've already learned a lot today. The guys will tell you, they could tell you know what I mean? You've been showing me a few things I never knew, so.
Awesome. I just am grateful that we're here today and that Steve he's offered us to take a look into his studio and to his musicality and his method and how he programs synthesizers. And we're going to demonstrate some of the most famous things that he's ever done, and we're going to throw them down into a song today.
Great.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, I thought we'd take a little piece of music of Toto's, and that shows off a lot of the techniques. You know what I mean? And we can use that as a jumping off point to talk about stuff.
That sounds good. So how do you want to start?
We've got a drum beat in there. Let's do a bass part. Here we go. Mm-hmm.
How about the sound? You want to work on that a second, or?
Yes. I'll show what I've typically done. Usually I use, back in Gary Wright days, kind of the way Gary did it was the 32-foot oscillator was a square wave. And you could choose between that being a square wave and a sawtooth. And then I had the other two oscillators be sawtooths, and either have one on, depending on what range I'm in, I'd have the third oscillator be on the 16-foot stop along with the second one, or on the 8-foot stop.
Yep, that's kind of my go-to, with the square wave on the bottom and the sawtooth on the top.
Right?
Steve, Gary Wright days. I mean, How old were you when you were playing with Gary Wright?
I was 17 when I first went on the road with Gary. Whew. I left high school.
You left high school to go on a tour?
To go on tour. I'd gotten the gig with Gary. I'd done 2 other auditions that I didn't get. And then I got the gig with Gary, and I was gone. I didn't ask anyone's permission.
Oh, sure.
I was running away to join the circus.
A synth band, right?
An all-synth band.
What was that like?
It was a blast. It was an absolute blast. Gary was a sweetheart, and they took great care of me, and we were doing all these great gigs, quite often opening for Peter Frampton, leading up to Frampton Comes Alive. We were the opening act.
Wow, I'm feeling the chill from that. That was huge.
Yeah, it was amazing. We got
Big
to play.
tour. And with someone that was really a pioneer of synthesizers. I mean,
he really
was one of the first. And you're talking Mini Moog bass. I mean, he was one of, not always credited with being there with the Mini Moog.
Sure.
And the great parts, too.
Great parts, great sound. Gary insisted on using Mini Moog. And he didn't just do bass sounds. He did all kinds of cool modulation things for these belly floating, did some very cool stuff. Yeah. So let's
Sounds
pretty
like you have
close.
A song in mind. What are we working on?
I thought we would do the intro to Girl Goodbye, which was something that I had just gotten my CS80 with Toto. I was so excited. I really wanted to have a new axe when the band started, and we used it not only on Cut One, Side One, but we used it throughout, and used it quite a bit throughout the career of the band, especially Toto 4, Africa, and Rosanna. There's always that CS80 there.
So you want to recreate that?
So yeah, we'll kind of do it, and we'll kind of make it our own. We'll add some new stuff. We'll incorporate some other stuff. to show off some of these other techniques, I thought we would use that as a jumping off point.
Okay, so we're gonna recut the song from cut 1, side 1.
The intro.
The intro from cut 1, side 1.
Girl Goodbye.
Girl Goodbye of Toto 1. Nice.
Let's do it.
I like the little ghost note that you do.
Really? And then typically I would go from that, if we were building this, let's jump to the CS80. You know what I mean?
A quick thought for you. What would happen if you actually learned to think like a synth? You'll quickly edit presets to get the sound you need. You'll be able to make the sounds you're hearing in your head from scratch. You'll create your own sounds that will elevate your music and make it stand out. You'll be able to confidently program almost any synth. And you'll expand your sound palette for all your projects. All of this and more is in my course, Think Like a Synth. My goal is to show you everything I've learned in my career, every technique, tip, and insight in an affordable, fun, hands-on synth course that you can immediately apply to your music. As you progress, you'll develop the unwavering confidence to know what every knob does before you turn it, which will empower you to create any sound in your imagination and set your music apart. Get a free lesson at anthonymarinellimusic.com and start creating legendary sounds for your music. We're at the CS80.
Great.
So the first thing I'm going to think of is Africa.
Sure. But even before that, on the very first Toto album, what we're about to work on, like I said, I'd gotten this synth right before Toto did their first album, right before we went into the studio. And it's been part of my sound with the band, and including Africa on the fourth album. This was exactly the sound we used on the verses of Africa. We're about to use it again.
Like it. So was the CS80 kind of something special to you as a synthesizer?
It was huge. You know, before that, the Polymoog came out, and I think along with a lot of people, I was very disappointed. I was expecting a Polymoog to sound like
a big modular Moog.
6 mini Moogs at least.
Okay.
You know, and it did not come anywhere close to that. And this, I had heard about it. I went down to the store to Abel's and Clark Spangler.
Oh, that's where you
this to me.
first saw CS80?
Oh, absolutely.
And David L. Abel was really special to me because he got me started. I learned from Clark Spangler, and I guess you did too, right?
A little bit, not enough.
A little bit. I went
enough.
Saturday mornings at 8 o'clock before the store opened at 9, and I took lessons with Clark, and Clark was like the studio synthesist. And I guess you and I kind of became studio synthesists among a few other things, but Clark really knew synthesizers, and I learned my method through Clark, and now I'm finding out Steve was down there, and David had the Yamaha franchise for the piano, so when the synthesizers started coming from Yamaha, they were all showing up at David's, right, at David L. Abel's.
It was the only place in town you could get a CS80. It was very, they had the exclusive on it. It wasn't at Guitar Center. So, and Clark was demoing it for a lot of the composers in the studios. And next thing you know, they would hire Clark, especially to play the CS80. And I started seeing him on my dad's sessions.
Well, that was
and we'd have lunch together.
That
and
was
Clark
the plan.
also helped me out with my micro composer and stuff. He was a brilliant guy.
Yeah, I mean, I owe him everything for keeping me interested in music, really. Synthesizers kept me going. I would have been playing sports if it weren't for, I don't know if I would have survived there, but that was my passion, and this was just like something kind of to do that I...
Me too.
Really the same thing.
Me too. Oh, yeah, because I knew I was never going to be a piano player the way David Paich or Michael Omardian or David Foster or all those guys that were hired for, you know, playing piano on sessions, but I saw this this opportunity for, you know what I mean, that to know your way around a synthesizer and just be handy in the studio, you know what I mean, was my way in.
Yeah, well, that was a big deal to be a studio musician too, because I was looking at those guys. Oh, they all have nice cars and they make money and they're doing music, and it was something. It kind of doesn't exist anymore, right?
Not like it used to. No.
The whole industry. So when you first saw a CS80, what did you do?
So I put the headphones on, and actually I think the first sound I heard was this brass sound that I've used so much, and it just, oh my God, the musicality of it. You know, playing it, and each note.
Well, explain what that is.
This is poly aftertouch. It was the poly aftertouch, I guess, where every time you played it, all the notes weren't always going to be balanced. They were going to be like individual players a little bit. But there was this musicality that other synthesizers and in MIDI that had poly aftertouch aren't able to recreate that musicality that CS80s and later even GS1s, their first digital synth that was non-programmable, but they had poly aftertouch, and it was just this musicality about the way it responded that I think is what makes these synths so desirable.
Yeah, well, they really designed an instrument, a performing instrument, you know. Well, let me hear that Africa bit one more time.
Sure. Yep.
And you stepped on the glide pedal.
I did. You know, CS80s have this very cool feature where you can, not only does it have portamento, which would be like, sound like this, but it has this thing called glissando, which did even half steps. And you could kind of go in two different directions at once. And as soon as you let go of the pedal, it jumps right to where you want to go. So I use this a lot with David Foster, the intro of After the Love Is Gone and Hall Oates and stuff like that. It was a synth that got used a lot.
That effect? Mm-hmm. What about with Hall Oates?
We used it. There was a song called Serious Music that John Oates wrote that I did a lot of glissando on the CS80.
Boy, they must have been loved. Oh, yeah. I mean, hearing an instrument like this coming in.
Yeah.
It's like a piano. It's like at that kind of level of expression, right?
Just very musical.
And you showed me one little trick with the glissando where, and I didn't remember that, about how you can get it to stop.
Yeah, there was two different kinds of sustain, is what that is. There's two different sustains where you can hit a note and then you can go, why is that hanging on there? And you could go, and it goes up to wherever you want it to go. Or in the other mode, and it stops.
When you stop.
When you stop.
You pull up.
It'll go there if you hang on to it. But what was cool about the other one is that you can go, you know, it'll go up there. Here, I can change it with the sound here.
We're in panel mode now. It'll go all the way, but if you release that one early, then it will stop wherever it is.
But also, while you're doing that, as soon as you let go, it'll jump to it.
Oh,
so
and
you
let
can
go
have
of the
that
pedal.
if you let go of the pedal. They could do it right on the beat.
So that's a lot of expression, even with gliss, almost like violin. When you're writing for violin section, you can have them gliss all over the place and control all this, but you're able to do this real time.
Yes.
Because you couldn't play this on piano.
No.
You'd be like chromatic scale in both directions and starting and stopping, and yeah, impossible.
Impossible.
And Yamaha made some of the impossible for keyboard players possible. So we
Yes.
could get violin type. I mean, this is kind of string section type effects.
Yeah.
And any other, probably Rosanna.
Yep. Rosanna, I mostly did, I used the panel, especially in the solo.
So you just made that panel sound?
Yep.
Nice. So what would you have, if there weren't a CS80, what would you have played that on?
You know, I would have gotten a similar kind of clav sound on either a Prophet 5 or a Jupiter 8, but this synth breathes, you know, with its touch response. It just kind of it breathes to me.
Well, like you said earlier, it's like different players. Every note is like a different person with not the same brightness, you know.
Exactly.
That sort of thing.
Exactly, but in a very musical way. So many other things do it, but it's just kind of, there's something about it that just feels clumsy.
So you liked the brass preset, and then you made panel sounds. Are there any other panel sounds that stood out for you?
You know, some version of that I would always do. Those were really my two go-to, was the brass sound, which incorporates this initial level going into the filter, which is kind of hard for me to wrap my head around, but I'm learning. I'm always learning, Anthony. You know what I'm saying?
That's what we want to be doing.
But the panel sound, it was always some version of this. In the song Mama, you know, sometimes depending if I want to add some aftertouch. And of course, I usually have some slap with it and some reverb.
Anything, did you use a particular go-to for that, for slap echo?
You know, in those days, it was my trusty Roland Space Echo.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Can't miss. That was a Clark Spangler favorite, CS80 and Space Echo, too. That was like on every session.
And then for reverb, you know, we were lucky to be in some of the most amazing studios in the world, like Sunset Sound or Capitol, and would use their live chambers.
Yeah, those sounds like that. How can you beat that? Well, the song, you playing it, a CS80, and these beautiful effects like tape, real tape, and then a real chamber. And you put all together, and that's kind of the magic. It's not like a secret formula or anything.
No.
But so many people ask me about that, like, well, what was going on then? And this is what was going on then. It was a combination of things, little things like that are all very beautiful that added up together. And and then, you know, we had specialists, we had the engineer like really dialing it in. It wasn't like one person. Like today, it's so often one person trying to do everything. Right?
Exactly. And that's a really good point to bring up, is that as far as the sounds go, you've got to give, you know what I mean? Especially us, we always had amazing engineers between Tom Knox and Al Schmidt and Greg Ladani and, of course, with Quincy Bruce Swedeen. These are some of the most amazing engineers in the world who just brought so much to the table as far as making these synths sound amazing. You know, you can't do it on your own. As far as the EQ and compression and stuff they do, that is beyond my job description. They just brought so much to the table to make them sound so good.
Yeah, and the contributions, even like we would come up with our own parts, but sometimes the songwriter or there would be an arranger that would have ideas, you know, and try this, try that. You know, that was always, especially for me, more in the film area, because it had to fit in the scope of an orchestra. And so it would find just its spot. You know, it wasn't like, a lot of times it's like, we look at it like it was so great, but sometimes the sounds, like you just show me, that sound that you said you used a lot on Rosanna, the one that's on the panel, it's very simple.
Sure.
It's not like this complicated sound.
Very
Like
simple.
you'll buy a synth today and you play one note and it just blows up and goes 5 directions and it's
Right.
so it's multi-timbral times 4, right?
Sure.
But you can't really use it in a track. Like what you have, there's a pocket for it in a track.
Well, that was the thing is a lot of my work, whether it was with Toto or not, sure I did some things on my own, but David Paich quite often would be, or on a lot of sessions, David Foster. He would play, I'd kind of get in the ballpark and just let them play the part they wanted to play. And I focused on dialing it into the track, making it speak right in the track and finding its place where it lived in the track.
That's
while they played, once I saw what part they were playing.
That's a high, because we talked about the engineer, but that's a really high level of focus. And I've done that too. I did that with Greg.
Right?
Right? Or we can, and I'm sure you did, where we just focus on one little thing. But we're just standing there, right? But they're playing, but then we're just making,
Yeah,
things.
and I love that. I love not having to worry about being in that hot seat. I loved, because doing this part was like falling off a log for me, and they love not having to worry about this stuff.
Well, yeah, but it was very luxurious kind of a situation to have people dedicated to these little details, and really thinking about it the whole day, when we're there and how it relates to the song, and then recalling the sounds like some of the CS80. I guess you can save some. Did you ever use the? Let's
Absolutely.
Open the door.
Absolutely. In the panel here, I mean, look how crazy this is. This is the panel redone here.
Did you use it?
So what I could do, absolutely. So say a sound like this, I would try to recreate that sound up here, wasn't always easy.
Yeah, with minimal labeling.
Yeah, we got to talk to our friend here about, there it is. And I would
pretty
A&B
close.
it.
Oh, you're right there. Just a little brighter.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Love it.
And then with the CS80, there was 2 of them, and you could, so you had this nice thick sound that you could detune.
Nice. Okay, so I guess let's get back on track.
Let's get back on track. So we're doing the brass part on this little piece we're working on, okay?
Take it away.
Let's give it a go.
Great.
There you go. That's that. Such as it is.
So I noticed you started out with just I guess we can call these the French horns or the trumpets, right? And then
Like a horn pad.
And then you brought in the trombones a little bit of the way through, right?
Yeah, and I'm not afraid to let these be different, breathe,
Yeah.
not just be the same sound throughout.
Yeah, and then you brought the 5th in a little bit, right? I heard that coming through every once in a while. And
That's what was cool about these synths is that, like I said, every time you hit it, it's not going to be the exact same balance.
very organic.
And that humanity is very much desired.
But a lot of the thinking, just the way you played that, is very much like orchestral thinking. And working with a lot of the people in the 80s, they came from that, from brass string, like even for pop song, arranging like brass strings, percussion. Rod Temperton especially, you could really see it, and it works, and it's something you can do today. There's so many add-on things you can do, but stick to those basics. Your brother Jeff used to always tell me his favorite arrangement was a stock arrangement, and I knew what he meant because he was playing drums and he didn't want to hear nonsense. He wanted to lock in to things that were like it was melodic, and it fit in the rhythm of things. And I think that comes a lot of times from, traditional orchestration. You learn about that type of thing. You learn to kind of stay out of the way and to support when you're there to support. And then when you have your moment, then you can take your moment, and then you duck back under.
Sure.
And the big band guys, they would all do that, step up, take the solo, sit back down. Everyone would have their moment.
Be part of the section.
Yeah.
Yeah, and always serving the song. I loved working with Rod. And I know my brother Jeff loved working with Rod. He was very demanding, but he knew exactly what he wanted,
For sure. And you knew you were going to get something just cohesive and amazing, like, you know, always. So where do we go from here?
Let's move on. Let's do something fun. Let's do some sequencing.
Special shout out to Josh and Carter from Rosen Sound for coming here with these amazing vintage instruments, always in working order. Thank you guys. I know I can always count on you every time. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Rob. So now we're at the DSX sequencer, and the OB8, right? Something that you've used on a lot of records.
Yeah, long before I had a CS80, my very first synth rig was a Mini Moog hooked up to a DS2 Oberheim sequencer, which was just monophonic. But it had the same, what you're about to see me do, which is I'm able to trigger individual sequences on the fly, which is not easy to do with a computer or really most other sequencers. Let me show you what I'm talking about.
Well, this is a special sequencer, right? Wasn't it designed by Marcus?
It was designed by Marcus.
Ryle designed it, and I think it's like a masterpiece.
As well as the OB8.
Yeah.
But he kept that same Oberheim thing that the DS2 had. He just, of course, now it was polyphonic. And
well, the same thing was that was a pretty rare thing then,
yes.
A digital sequencer.
Yes. It was, that you could actually play something really slow into it and then speed it up. And being that it was a synthesizer, the pitch wouldn't change. Let me show you what I'm talking about. We'll choose a sequence here and a record track. I'm just going to do a very kind of rough thing for this piece we're working on. Here we go. 2, 3, 4.
All fixed up.
It's quantized to 16th notes.
But the gates are still there. The durations are still the way you played them.
And then we'll do another one. We'll go to sequence 1, do record track 1. And I'm going to do a different one. And I could do many different chord changes if I wanted to.
And you go as long as you want?
You can. I mean, there is a limitation, but I've never reached it. So what I'm going to do here, here I can call up this first one.
So that's the B sus chord.
And then on the fly, I can go to the other one.
B major 7.
And just hit play. And by the way, but what we're going to do now, time lapse. I played them very slow, but we'll go up to, let's see what 200 BPM sounds like, or thereabouts. And by the way, and you can't transpose. So let's just do this on input with the track for a second. Get away from that wheelbarrow. You don't know anything about machinery.
I don't even know how do you even get it to switch. It doesn't. You got the touch.
You got to hit play. I'm hitting it.
Oh, at the same time you're doing it, kind of one before the other.
Mm-hmm.
You arm it and then hit it.
Mm-hmm. Try it.
Yeah, I could do that now.
Come on. And hit the play thing again to re-trigger the same sequence. I think he's getting it. You can hit stop anytime.
And where's the stop?
Right next to... There you go.
Very nice.
So we're set to go. You want to try a pass?
Smooth. Sure.
Come on, you do a pass. And
it's fine.
1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4.
Nice. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent.
That's some tag team synthesis.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love,
right.
you know, I've always, whether it was Foster or Page especially, David and I were a team, and I love working with other guys. I love working with other synth guys. Look how much I've learned just today. I'm such a huge proponent of you show me your stuff, I'll show you my stuff. I'm huge about that. That's how I got to where I was. I didn't naturally know about this stuff. And guys like Michael Boddicker, there were a lot of guys at the beginning, Clark Spangler, guys who were very generous with their knowledge and showed me how to do stuff, you know what I mean? And I just, I've always had that ethos with other synth players. Some guys can be very territorialistic and protective, and I understand that. They're afraid of us all sounding like each other. You know, I can understand that. But for me, I've always loved sharing my stuff with guys like yourself who I could learn so much from. Look at just today, I learned so much already with what we've done.
Well, thank you, Steve. But you've always been a great collaborator and also in writing. But, you know, I want to thank, for our audience, thank you for what you're doing today, because this is just proof of what you just said. You know, that you're willing to show us like the inner, you know, the creative ideas that you came up with on all these songs. And I'll tell you, like on this one, I didn't know how the heck you did it, because I would hear the track and I go, what is this sequencer? Mm-hmm. How does it have that many notes? You know, right. I had a 16 step analog sequencer.
Sure.
I mean, I couldn't string that together and punch in time. And you know, you took the technology and then you found this sort of musical use for it. Like now it's like this digital harp or something that can just...
Sure, exactly.
Right?
No, and I was also in a band. My brother took great pride in his time and hated playing with click tracks. So a lot of stuff that would have made, doing this kind of stuff would have made my life easier. I had to find workarounds, and I wound up being glad for it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Necessity is the mother of invention, as they say.
Right, and your uniqueness comes from how you use it, not from the, you know, you can show anybody this trick, but it's like,
sure,
where's it going to go? How's it going to get used? That's the spirit of invention, and what we feel in the music. I think what's most important, right, is the emotion that comes through. And it's in your performance, like what you're showing us with the CS80, bringing out those inner voices when you play it, that's your performance, and there's a uniqueness to it. Because we come from that. I mean, your dad was a studio musician too, and all those guys, I'm sure you were heavily influenced by performing the music.
Absolutely.
And I'm just curious, like, how much did you, I mean, this is sequencing, right? But you couldn't help yourself, right? Because you're just nailing these buttons. Like, before I was doing it, Steve was kind of showing me a few things, like how to make it happen. And that comes, I think, from a performance mindset.
Sure.
Right? Because you could have just programmed the whole thing in and just let it run.
Sure, but I used to do sessions with Foster. And again, I've been so lucky to be able to use this stuff, especially the career I had in Toto, to be in that band with those songs David Paich wrote and the other guys wrote, and having my brother play drums. I was so fortunate to be able to use this stuff in such a cool environment and situation, or with sessions with guys like Foster and Quincy Jones and all that stuff, being able to use this on such cool music.
Well, everyone in Toto brought such a high level of expression on each of the instruments. I have to say, one thing that I felt when I listened to the music of what you brought was a new sound, a new atmospheric thing that happened. Because we had heard the other instruments before. They were played at a really high level, right? And you came together as a band, but what you did, those sounds were, we never heard that before. In pop music too, and you were doing it on other records, but it created like a sort of a cinematic kind of effect, right?
Yes, which we were always, huge fans of movie scores and Jerry Goldsmith and John Williams and Bernard Herrmann and...
Everyone?
Yeah, but especially Paich and I wanted to bring that element to our music.
Right. Okay, so let's continue recreating this cinematic intro, right?
Let's continue on.
I want to tell you about a few things that we have now. My course, Think Like a Synth, where you can learn the exact method that I've used on hit records and films for over 40 years. We have a Patreon where you can get exclusive videos that aren't available anywhere else, and you can be a part of our interactive live streams. Go to anthonymarinellimusic.com to get exclusive free content and find out more. And don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment, and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos.
Okay, so it was around 1979. Toto was working on their second album. I had just gotten this huge modular system. And around the same time as I'd gotten this Frank Zappa album came out, Shake Your Booty. And there was this break in the song Yo Mama, and just the synths were amazing.
Is that Tommy Mars?
Tommy Mars, as a matter of fact. Excellent synthesis.
Yeah, for sure.
And
player.
And player. And he had gotten this guy to interface a Yamaha CS80 with an EMU modular system, is what the sound was. But my friend Roger Lynn, who was helping me, teaching me about synthesis and teaching me how to use the modular, I brought him over. I says, how is he getting that sound?
Roger Lynn that invented the Lynn drum.
Yes. And Roger said, he heard it right away. He goes, he knew exactly what he was doing. Say if it was 2 oscillators, he was blipping just one of the oscillators. He was assigning a little bit of an envelope to just one of the oscillators, something you can't do on a stock Mini Moog. But you can easily do with a modular synthesizer, or for that matter, with a 2600.
Or for that matter, with a real trumpet.
Or for that matter, with a real
Because I think
trumpet.
that's where it comes from, right?
Yeah, well, it's trying to emulate that sound.
When you blow really hard, the pitch dives down. Like if you blow hard into a tube, the pitch might be higher than the sustain state.
Sure. The main thing being is that as I was learning about synthesis, and as I'm reading these books on instruments and the physics of music and sounds, the most complicated sound we learn is the attack of a real instrument, whether it's a violin, no matter what it is, a percussion instrument, a wind instrument, a trumpet, it's the attack. And so we were constantly trying to find ways to kind of cheat to make the attack more complex than it typically would be on a synthesizer. We sometimes could use an envelope on the filter to give us some shape on the attack that would be separate from the rest of the sound. But this blip I found was really a huge key, a huge part. And then on top of that, another thing that I found I could only do with a modular synthesizer was to add just to the filter, was to modulate the filter a little bit with what I call spit. And that's with a very fast LFO, going about the sound of a trumpet player's lips going.
Right.
That's about the speed you want your LFO going at, to modulate the filter, just for the beginning of the sound. You don't want it on all the time. Again, something that's most of these synthesizers will do that to the filter, but it's like a constant thing. It's either on or off. Where with the synthesizers that are modular in nature and a 2600, you could do it just on the attack. So between the blip and the spit, that's always been my thing as far as trying to get an interesting attack.
And I would say that's a really signature sound. I mean, for you and for Toto, I mean,
Yes, it's what you hear on the beginning. It's what the Rosanna the lead sound in the Rosanna solo is me. Is actually used a Prophet 5 was my controller, and I used the sound from the Prophet, but also that was, more importantly, that was triggering my polyfusion that was doing all this spit and all this stuff.
When I hear Steve do it on almost any instrument, it's just, it sounds like that. It's just got that
thing.
That thing, yeah.
Great. So let's. We're going to do it, and what we're going to do, we're going to do it on the 2600 as well as on my mini Moog there.
So this is a mini Moog. This is a rack mountable mini Moog, right?
Yes. Greg St. Regis. You know what I mean? From Studio Electronics. This was my original mini Moog I got when I joined Gary Wright's band. The original wood case that it was in, it was beautiful, and I watched it. We were opening for Jethro Tull, and I watched as these forklifts were taking off our rigs, and my beloved mini Moog came crashing down onto the floor of a hockey arena and smashed into a million pieces. And Gary had this great tech that kind of just took the brain. The brain was still working. The keyboard was shot. And I eventually took it to Greg St. Regis at Studio Electronics, and he midied it up for me. And but he's also given me CV and gate inputs, so I can use it like I used to. So I'm going to do it on this, and you're going to do it on that.
I'll be glad to do it on the 2600. So you just remind me of all the steps.
So let's start off. Basically, we need two oscillators.
I'll demonstrate. Can you guys get a good shot of the screen?
We want two oscillators with a sawtooth.
Okay, so we have one oscillator that's a sawtooth already. It's normaled. So now we have, let's say, two oscillators.
Let's
test
hear it. There we go.
What's next?
That's it. So let's add a blip to one of the oscillators.
So I'm going to take the envelope generator, and I'm going to make it blippy, so very short decay time, and I'm going to patch it into oscillator 3, which is one of the sawtooths, right?
Just one of the...
And let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so now this is something for the channel. We love when this happens. This envelope generator appears to be malfunctioning. It's not receiving a gate. As you can see, nothing. So what I'm going to do is patch the gate from the keyboard directly to the envelope generator, and hopefully it works.
Wow.
So that's what you have to do sometimes, right? I noticed it wasn't working, so now let's hear it.
You need to open up that filter, and we'll exaggerate it. Go ahead. You hear what's going on? Just one of the oscillators. Hit it again. Again, keep hitting it. See? We've just kind of screwed up the attack.
So you can hear it, one oscillator is going like that, and the other's straight. And they rub.
Exactly. It's all about that rub.
Like when you have two trumpets.
Sure.
You know, they're not like perfectly.
Sure. Now let's add some spit.
That's okay? You like that speed?
It's great.
Okay.
Great starting place.
Okay, spit. What would you like?
So we're going to take, I guess, your second oscillator on either a sine or a triangle, and we need to send that to the filter.
Okay. I know you said something different, but I'm going to put it in the filter first so we can hear it.
There you go. Exactly. You hear what that's doing?
Spittle.
It's about the sound, right, of a trumpet player's lips rubbed.
But that guy's way too nasty, right? He's a nasty trumpet player. We got to.
So the thing is, though, we need to gate that somehow. What's going to that filter there? We only want that at the beginning of the sound.
Okay.
And then we want that to go away.
So the way I'm going to do that, I'm out of VCAs because I'm using the VCA to have the filter pass through it. You know, and I have an AR envelope generator on the VCA, and then that's going to the mixer. So you can see this patch where the VCA is going directly to the mixer. VCA patched into the mixer. So what I'm going to do is take the envelope generator, actually strike that. I'm going to take this sine wave, that is the spit, and I'm going to use the ring modulator as a VCA. And I'll do that by putting it in DC mode. So I'm DC coupling it, so it's going to work just like a VCA in this mode. And if you check out my course, Think Like a Synth, you'll find out there are a lot of secondary uses of these modules. So that's something that's look at a little bit deeper level. And I want to add, you know, this is something that makes Steve's sounds stand out whenever I listen to them. And he has like a three-dimensional quality to his sounds because he does things like this. Like we could just play a trumpet like this without this. Right? It's flat, right? And then you add these little elements to the sound, a little bit of this spit and a little bit of this. Suddenly, it's more organic, more full of life, changing over time, right? Like music does.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we got this sine wave.
So how are we going to gate this?
Easy. We're not going to need this cable. I'm going to free this cable up because we're normaled here. I was just showing you the patch. So I'm going to take the same envelope generator that is doing the blip, and I'm going to use it to control this VCA, output of the VCA into the filter, and there we go. You hear the spit? And if you want a little bit of spit on the sustain, listen. You hear it? So we can have a little more and still...
Sure. Great. Let's make it a little brighter overall.
Okay, and I can do that. I could still use the envelope generator to give a little brightness on the attack. And
very good. Very good.
This house is clean.
All right. Now I'm going to take the control voltage from that this keyboard. And I can get it right here, correct? CV?
Yes.
I'm taking that voltage and I'm having that control the pitch of my Moog, as well as I'm going to take the...
You need a gate?
I need a gate.
So you hand me this. We're out of gates, right? Because of the problem that had to be solved. This ADSR envelope generator was not receiving a gate. It was malfunctioning. So I patched it. So we're going to make 2 of these. Output of the gate into a mult. So now Steve has a gate.
Nice.
And then I can reestablish this patch. Put the switch down so it will receive the gate from the keyboard. Well, now we're hearing you.
And now, we're on my Moog here. Okay? And again, I'm going to do the same type of thing. Here's one oscillator at a sawtooth. I can turn it down a little bit. Here's the other one, but I'm going to add some blip. This is using the filters envelope on a mini Moog and sending it to just the second oscillator. There you
So
go.
we can hear you.
Sure. Okay? Now the way we get our spit is I'm taking a low frequency oscillator, right? And I'm I'm taking that output, and that is going to my filter input over here. So if I open this up, we should be hearing it. There it is. But what I'm doing is I'm gating it with my I'm just gating it with an envelope is controlling this voltage controlled amplifier.
Yep.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, now you got the Mini Moog doing it.
And I can detune these. This is a little two in tune. There's maybe a little too much of that. So we've got on this mixer here, can we lower this guy an octave?
There you go.
There you go. And I'm going to turn off and add mine.
Is that both? Wow, such a big sound.
Right?
Look at the smile.
That's dry as a bone.
It's dry as a bone.
You know, we put some verbiage on it and stuff, meaning reverb.
Let's do it.
Let's do it now.
That's really nice.
Right?
Yeah, ARP and
For a
Moog.
lead sound.
ARP and Moog with all the nuance on the attack.
Living together.
They're living.
Side by side. Let's see here. You jam on the second half. Come on, for
Oh, like
shites
that?
and giggles. Okay?
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, it's thematic and all that, so.
You know, the way Keith Emerson, you know, my hero, the first time I heard a Moog live and on Tarkus, the way he kind of did it, which you didn't really notice, was he would hit like the lowest note on the keyboard, and then with the perfect amount of portamento,
Sure.
of glissando,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? He would swoop up to it. You wouldn't even hear him hit the low note. Exactly. And that would give especially the attack of the first note, this interest, because it was sliding up to it. Very fast, but
Like,
exactly. And you wouldn't even hear that low note.
yeah, that's great. And also you could,
You broke the MIDI.
it's fly mode. So get a little bit of that so you can go. Or even a delayed vibrato.
Sounds
right.
good though, huh? With the Moog together,
Sounds beautiful.
with the ARP,
They're
doing
great.
the same
They're
thing.
just great together. And there's no argument about, Moog or ARP. Both.
Come on. You know, can't we just get along?
We can't. It's just the two of us. We know how to do it. So now we have a
Right.
melody. What's next?
What's next is, you know, that part 2, trying some of this other stuff.
Ooh, the Oberheim 4-voice.
Going into...
Let's go over there because there's a lot to say over there. So what do you got on the Oberheim 4-voice?
Well, you know, what I wanted to show was this this thing I came up with on human nature, actually. I wanted to have a transition from one section to the next. And on the previous Michael Jackson album, Off the Wall, Michael Boddicker had done this thing on the song called I Can't Help It, this great Stevie Wonder song.
I can't help it.
And it was an Oberheim 4-voice part on there that was so cool, the way the modulation, the way it slid from note to note. It was just the coolest part. And that kind of inspired me. I got my Oberheim 4-voice out, and we wanted to go from one section to the next in human nature of the intro. And I did this thing where I put it in unison. And I put it in unison, and I brought every note all the way down and made sure that every note was down at the bottom there. And then I turned the portamento all the way up and turned the unison off, and then slid up to the note I wanted. Probably was up an octave. Anyway,
So nice.
it's just something I've used over the years repeatedly. And again, for our tune, I'll bring it down here, and we'll just kind of put the unison on, crank the portamento up, turn the unison off so that everything starts from one note, but then it peels off into this chord is what's happening.
So the quick explanation, like unison mode will make all the oscillators be...
Every voice, yes.
Yeah, every voice will be down on the low C. Then you turn the unison off, turn the portamento on.
And it peels into this, it blooms into this chord.
So everybody will be moving up, and then the first note, one of the voices will stop at the lowest note of the chord, and the next one will go to the medium note of the chord, and the next one will go to the higher note of the chord.
It just peels off together.
Wow.
It peels off into the individual. So we'll go like this, and then we'll go. Oh, I gotta turn my unison off and go.
And then you're right in, and then you can just play.
Now, it's a very subtle thing. You might think, that's not a big deal, but these transitions, these little things, make a huge difference for me.
They do, for the emotion. Yeah, we feel it when you're listening.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think so. So again, we'll put it in unison. So and let's start this.
Back to the song.
Let's start this at the song here. We'll go, okay.
Perfect. So you kept going a little so you can fade it out. Maybe you get a smooth transition.
Exactly. That's finessing.
Well, very much what you would do with strings. They would play across, and you put a diminuendo into the part.
So let's see this now. And I'll turn it down a little bit, and we'll put a little.
Perfect. Yeah, so there's a nice lift to the transposition.
You get it?
Got it.
Now, what we can do to add to that, if you want to just jump right into it, is to play the CS80, would you? So what I like to do with this guy, one of the things that's cool about a CS80 is that it's pitch bend. Unlike other ribbons, it's actually bending the pitch without us playing anything. So for instance, if I hold this chord, we're subsonic right now. We're below the hearing range. And we could just whip right up to, this is something I did a lot with Toto too, when we had, you know, we'd want to come from way down there.
Yeah, and on stadium speakers, I'm sure that does the job.
Sure. So let's maybe add this kind of, I could call these whip-ups usually.
Whip-ups.
We can add this to the mix.
A Toto technique.
Shall we give it a shot?
Yeah, go for it.
Here we go.
Yeah. Just spray that into some reverb and it just dissipates. And
along with this guy.
Yeah.
With what we just did.
And this guy travels underneath and then it goes away over a couple bars.
Yep.
Wow. And so you would do a lot of this kind of layering, right? Maybe an octave higher or like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then mix them together. Like you said, add some effects. I would add some tape slaps sometimes, add some harmonizer, you know, do whatever to make it special
so
and
Steve,
make it speak.
This is kind of an important thing because that's true of a lot of your music. And it's another reason why it's so cinematic, but there are dramatic moments that you key on.
Totally.
And you kind of dive in there and you open it up a little. Even though they're short moments, there's love put into those moments because you know that
yes.
like a key change or something is an opportunity for emotion, right?
Sure.
For dramatic, keeping interest, all kinds of things that I can do.
Absolutely. And especially with synthesizers, to me, those little details are huge, make a world of difference in what separates somebody who really keeps it interesting, keeps the sound interesting from people who don't, who are just poking through presets or whatever and guessing. It's this kind of stuff that, these kind of details that make it interesting to me.
For sure, the subtle nuances. And it could be as simple as just like one CS80 part where you're having finger independence and it's just not so like consistent all the time, just one layer. Or it could be on a big text or something like this where you accomplish the expression through layers.
Sure.
The way they dovetail and work with each other.
Yes, and quite often, especially when we were working with tape, I would do these kind of things on several different synths. I would use them what they did good, and then kind of combine them, do a pass, and bring it all down to 2 tracks.
Did you often have a setup with multiple synths where you could like, because for me, I'd have a setting here. I didn't really use too much like saving of sounds on some of these older synths.
Right.
Because I didn't even want to mess with it. If I change sounds, maybe it's not going to be exactly where it was. So I'd leave it. And it's like, that's what its purpose was in the song. Then I go over here, do something, go over here, do something. And then I come back, oh, I have an idea. Then I can go back to that synth. Was that like in your workflow?
Absolutely. Now in Human Nature, we just did this Oberheim thing. I just had this idea to kind of cop what Boddicker did, and I Can't Help It, and do my version of that. And it worked out perfect. And of course, again, with Bruce Swedin engineering and bringing to the table what he brought to the table, it worked out great. It worked out great. But typically, this is what I would do. It would be to kind of combine these things and have it wind up just on a stereo pair of tracks.
Yeah, like a composer, and you decide the instruments you're writing for that day or you're arranging for, and you set them up and you get them all where it's like an ensemble that's going to work together. Those sounds are going to work together. Sure. And then you can kind of,
But then sit there and really blend them with the mixer, blend them, put effects on them. My buddy Amin Batia was also someone who just kind of taught me on it's kind of an additive synthesis approach, but instead of an additive synthesis in the strict sense of it all being a bunch of sine waves, just kind of using bits and pieces, using something that was good for the attack, something that sustained real good, and combining these things together to make a sound.
That's what we did, right? We'd hear somebody do something. I did that too. You heard Boddicker, you heard Amin.
Sure.
But I have a question for you about, you've embraced working in the DAW. How do you compare that to this type of thing? Because in the DAW, you have no worry that you're going to go back. You can bounce between sounds as much as you want. Here, it's a little bit more fragile, I guess, you know, because the sounds can drift on you and all that. Do you compare them, or what's in your mindset?
To be honest with you, it gets down to a matter of keep the change for me. I'd always rather have it be the real deal. The real deal sounds great, but the reality of keeping these things maintained, keeping these instruments. Also, I have to deal with the fact that I have an attention deficit issue, and I'm often jumping from project to project, from song to song, when I'm doing film from cue to cue, and I can't finish something in one setting. What was kind of great about being in a studio with a Quincy Jones or a David Foster, and you're there with the engineer, and you're gonna get it done.
Right.
Even regardless of what your attention, your attention issues or whatever, you're there with everybody in the room, and you're going to get that done. You're not going to go back to it later, That's a really, for you, there's a different, is it like just feeling in the air of keeping your attention? The old way of working where you have a person assigned to each task, like the producer, the engineer, the artist, an arranger, other players all showing up, versus you working all by yourself in a DAW. Yeah, well, it's just, there's also the power of fresh ears. Sometimes I'll be working very hard, doing all these pieces with different synths, and I need fresh ears. I need to be able to look away from it for a couple days, where if it's a rented synthesizer, or even if it's something like an Oberheim of my own, I'm gonna wanna use it on something else and change that sound. Where when I'm all in the DAW, I have the luxury of being able to get that cue back up a week later if need be, or that part of that song a week later, and the sound, even though maybe it won't be a real Oberheim, it's a model of a 4-voice, the luxury of what I'm able to do with that is worth it to me.
The repeatability is
exactly.
everything.
It gets to be like the debate between analog tape and digital, how things sound. You know what I mean? It's for me, it's a keep the change thing. Yes, I hear the difference. Yes, I like that analog compression that that happens when you use tape. I love the way that sounds, but you know what? Life is short, and I want to get as much done as I can, and it's kind of a keep the change thing for me at this point in my life.
And does it keep you, because I noticed your smiles got really big when you were doing these moves on these synths. So in the workflow, do you have those big smiles too when you're working in the DAW?
Sure.
Because it's the music?
Not in the same way. I just, having all these synths here like this is, it brings me back to the day when, you know what I mean? When I was doing all this, and when I was using all the real synths, and that I still know how to,
I'm glad we're cracking them right now. It's really fun.
Great.
Okay, so is there another layer you want to try on the CS80, maybe with the gliss or something, or like the THS kind of effect?
Well, we could just try let's just go with, let's maybe just open up the panel and just do a glissando.
Yeah.
We want it slow enough to hear those half steps.
So start it early. Yeah, that'd be great.
2, 3, 4.
And then maybe, what about... You could do that at the end, right?
Sure can.
Once you're up there, and then it fades away on the
Come on,
vibrato.
you do it. You do it. Just hit the pedal. 1, 2, 3, 4.
How many beats does it take to get up there?
Well, we can just let go of the pedal and it'll jump there. Remember?
Sure. All right, I'll do four counts then.
Yeah, let's see here. You'll start. Yeah, I say like right on the 2. On
2?
Yeah.
Okay.
You ready?
We love that one.
Cool.
Ripping.
Especially you get some verb on that, some slap. It'll be happening.
I mean, so this is what you did. Like,
sure.
I'm getting it.
Right?
Yeah. It's great stuff. Synth orchestration at its finest.
All right, so just to remind everyone what we're doing, we're going to gate. We're going to gate something. In this case, we're going to control the filter. We're going to control the filter of the Oberheim. And the way we're going to do that is we program this cross stick.
Okay. It's like a Latin rhythm.
Right?
Yep.
And we're going to take that directly out.
So this is the output of the cross stick. Okay. Let me get back in here. So I'm finding where it says side stick.
There you go.
And there you go. So if
we're going to take that and we're going to put that, where's the other end of that guy?
Well, it's a chord tracing thing. Here you go. Tracing.
Right? We're going to take that guy and we're going to plug him straight into this envelope follower.
I'm going to hit it.
Okay? And you can see we're getting it. Now the envelope follower will also give us just the gate out. We could take the gate out and have it trigger an envelope down here. We can actually use this guy right here. And we can see he's also being triggered. You dig?
Yeah.
And then we're going to go out of that. The control out of that guy is going to go into our Oberheim. Filter control input. Now, Anthony, if you would, play a chord.
Keep it going?
Keep it going.
By the way, this is part of Steve's gigantic polyfusion synth that you may have seen on the internet. And, right?
Sure, and we could do this exact thing with an ARP 2600.
All right, we'll keep going. We'll tell you a little bit of a story about it in a second. So I'm going to get this guy going and then play a chord. Mm-hmm. Ooh, I like that.
And if you close that filter.
Right, we're modulating it with just a gate.
And just the way you do. We're using this envelope as an external. And now, because you put it in sync.
Ooh, that's so nice.
Because we have it in sync with our sequence, we should be able to sync right up. Here, let me get around you this way somehow.
We could sync back up with our track.
We could sync back up with our track because we have a click from our track coming to your doctor click.
It's going into the pulse in, and you remember I talked so much about labels? It's really helpful because I don't have to reach around the back, you know, just that's the one I need, right? So pulse in, and then it just converts it. Just play the click for just 1 second, Steve, and you'll see it's clicking right here? Take a look at this, right there. So then as soon as I push play on the very next click, it'll send signal to the Lindrum, 2, 3, 4. And we're in sync. Okay. And we're in the first key, right?
B sus. The B major 7. And then go up to C. You can move your filter, swell it back and forth so its sound changes.
Wow, that's so great. So we can lay something down.
And that pattern can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. And I guess you could switch patterns on the Lin too, and then you change patterns.
Absolutely. You could program whatever you want. Or, for that matter, being that we're using just anything audio is what's triggering that envelope follower is turning an audio signal into it. It could be somebody out there clapping in the studio. It could be on a track.
Right.
Where it's more human, you know?
Didn't you do that in Toto with like your brother's hi-hats?
Sometimes, yes, I'm able to like grab the hi-hats and have them trigger stuff and do the same kind of thing with
so it was a human
track.
feel hi-hat
Yes.
into an envelope follower.
Yes.
And then how did you get the gate to trigger the filter?
Well, that's the thing. What's great about an envelope follower, and actually the ARP 2600 does this better than anyone, you don't have to have it producing a gate. To make a gate, it has to cross a threshold. But an envelope follower puts out a control signal that's just a complete analog of whatever the input is.
Sure.
So it doesn't have to be a gate. It can just be whatever's coming in. You can just have your voice go, ah. And it'll make the synth go, the filter will open up.
Okay. But this envelope follower is also triggering your envelope generators. So this is a hot enough envelope follower to trigger an envelope generator.
But notice it also just has a plain control output on that envelope follower. Do you
gate
see
output. There you go. So there's your gate. That's what I was asking. So your envelope follower creates
a gate
as well.
Right, but it also has just a control output.
Yeah, straight envelope shape. Amplitude.
That'll follow whatever's going into it.
The amplitude.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a great envelope follower you have on there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you get both.
And the most musical one I've ever used is the one on a 2600.
Most musical?
Mm-hmm.
Is that because in the low range you get the nuance?
As a matter of fact, where was that cable we had? Let's take that same cross stick.
Okay.
And you'll see how I can take it now, and I'm going to use it as the input to the envelope follower.
On the ARP.
On the ARP. Let's get these out of the way. That's right here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's patch and output, or where do you want it to?
And it can actually go. Can it go right to the?
To the filter. Sure.
Right.
Yeah, put it right in there. Let's pull this down. There you go. It's working. Yeah. If you take the output of the envelope follower and run it through the lag processor, you'll be able to get some nuance on the attack.
Sexy.
Let's try it anyway. So you can mess with it. I'll turn this down. Right? That's what you like.
And it would be right in sync with our track.
And then Steve can change pitches. Right in sync. Let's try running our track.
Sure. Here, you do it. You play, and I'll drive over here.
Okay. As soon as I get a click,
here we go.
I'll trigger it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And we got this guy going, right? Created a sequencer effect with it.
You get it.
Amazing.
But being able to program anything you want as far as the pattern goes.
And so tell me some of the records that you did this type of thing on.
Boy. Well, especially Dirty Laundry would be the one that everyone would know about, for sure.
So Dirty Laundry.
Where it was just, I was just gating. I knew they just wanted this. They wanted this. Danny Cooch, who wrote the song and was the producer, especially he had a Farfisa organ there, and he just wanted to. He wanted it to be perfect.
Well, that's like what I was just doing.
Exactly.
I was just soloing, but it's a quantized solo to this.
Exactly. So do we have this where we did this and it's making the filter go? Do we want to record a part?
Yeah, let's get that. Why don't you do that one? Sure.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Don't you love that? I love this. And this is working so easily.
I told you, if I can do it, I'm not technical. I did it, that's why I'm confident. And
what is this? What's this? This is the...
pulse in.
That's the pulse out to your...
It needs to be halfway.
Why?
It's just...
Maybe that's why mine never worked.
That's what I was telling those guys. It's designed for so that the amateurs can't make it work. That's the first thing I said. Because they're going, why is this plugged in halfway?
I remember Garfield very well. It was Dan, right?
In the garage.
Dan, yeah.
He ran out of his garage.
Yeah. He was working for Fleetwood Mac for a while. I remember him doing some stuff with Fleetwood. He actually worked for them. They hired him.
Dan Garfield worked for Fleetwood Mac?
Yes. And, everybody in those days trying to sync up, trying to incorporate.
Well, it was a huge thing.
Yeah. I remember he had a light thing with 4 different lights
that was an
Mick
early
would play
one.
to. You know
so
what I mean?
Dan Garfield invented the Dr. Click out of his garage. So Steve and I knew him. But I guess this was all was it post, I knew it as post drum machine. Mm-hmm. Because before drum machine, we weren't really syncing. It was just like a sequencer and a click, that I could make work.
But let me show you, while we're talking about it, should I show you what used to be my secret weapon?
No, we don't want to know that.
That a Dr. Click couldn't do.
Yes, I want to know.
All right. Are you getting this? So here was your sync out of your clock out of your Dr. Click.
The clock out?
Was that what that was?
Well, this was the pulse in. This was the click. This was your click coming into the Dr. Click.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah.
This is going into your sync in.
So this is a 48. This is a 48 clock.
So I'm going to take it out of this guy's clock out, and let's just see. Because what my guy was able to do.
Okay.
And are we still? Yeah, and just go ahead and get a drum pattern up.
Okay.
And here, go ahead and play it without it. Is it there? Go ahead, get them all. Get a little mix.
Nothing else. All right, we got a basic beat. That's all we really need, right?
All right, you can stop it. Let's plug this into.
Put it in sync.
And let's see what happens. Oh, wait, I got it the wrong time base.
Okay, tell us what you're doing.
My friend Ralph Dyke, who helped me out a lot back in the day, he knew my brother didn't want to play to a click ever. So a lot of times I would have to sync up after the fact to a moving. My brother had very steady time, but it wasn't like a clock. And with this, I could kind of follow him. I could slow down and speed up.
Wow.
And I had an audio input too. So it could be, someone could go out in the studio with 2 drumsticks and just follow a track. If it sped up, they just would play along with it.
Did he ever do that where he was the clock too?
Sure. Yeah.
So either way, or you could just be in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then also I had a tape mode. Ralph, there was a guy named Peter Dunick who did this algorithm for him. and made me this sync box. As you see, it's not real pretty. Ralph hated doing hardware, but it was a brilliant piece of gear.
And it still works.
And somehow it still works. Yeah, I don't know all the details of how. Here, reset yours. Let's see.
Whatever your average tempo is, it regulates to it. Wow. That's quite incredible. And it's because it's a 48 clock, so there's 48 ticks per quarter note. So it's regulating all those ticks.
Yes.
Genius. He's a genius.
And it's doing it in a it's kind of, it always did it in a very kind of musical way. It wasn't, a lot of things have had tap tempo, controls on them, but they're very jaggedy. They're not like this one.
It sounds like it smooths.
Exactly.
To the tempo.
It's very smooth and musical.
It's smoothing to the tempo, so it's like accelerating and decelerating to get there, not just jumping.
Yeah. I used to use this on Quincy Jones dates where when they hadn't cut to a click.
And for sure, and people that are going to be really time sensitive, they're going to be like, Steve, this isn't going to work, right? Because it has to feel right.
Sure, but that's how I would get all these machines.
Do you remember any tracks that you actually used this on?
A bunch of stuff. As a matter of fact, a real long one, State of Independence, Donna Summer, which was a very long track.
And that had a live drummer on it?
I believe so. I don't remember.
And what were you
exactly.
syncing?
I just know they gave me a click. I was syncing up my MC4 at the time, my microcomposer.
Was it multiple layers of synths? So wow, so what were you getting from the drums? Like one like the kick drum?
I don't remember exactly what I was getting. What they were just giving me a click they had somehow made from, you know what I mean?
That varied. And then were you able to follow just like a really ragged drum track sometimes?
I could. You know what I mean?
Usually come from your brother,
you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, usually it still would be, if it was a professional drummer.
If you're following an orchestra, that's crazy because that could change.
Yeah, not that I ever followed an orchestra.
But you think it could. It's capable.
Yeah, it could follow conductor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, the Dr. Click could remember it, and then you would record it, the tempo changes, and then it will spit it out. And
really? It had a tape mode, right?
It has a record button. So you can record the tempo change from any drum or whatever, and then it will give you a variable click.
See, I always struggled with my Dr. Click. I had this very one.
What I like also is that the Dr. Click will spit out like stereo.
Different clocks and stuff,
different rates. I can get like quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, extreme, and then I can also go low range and go halftime. And then it also has two envelopes that are in sync with that. And you can create any envelope shape you want, attack, decay, sustain, release.
Very cool.
In stereo.
Very
different.
cool.
So I'm just doing this, changing, getting, like what you do to get it to talk, get it to, for the synth to be alive. So it's it's locked in groove, click groove, if you want to call it, right? But with nuance.
Sure, and I use that whether it was done to a click or not. That was just kind of my, whenever there was a click to go to, I would use that. So, for instance, on State of Independence, I can't say for sure whether it was a live drummer or whether it was a drum machine. That was my go-to guy.
But it was variable. So you were able to...
it could be variable.
And that thing's real time. That's another kind of another level.
Yes.
See, I could sing for orchestra. There's nothing really that would do that.
Yes. Yeah, it's a very unique box. I mean, I don't, now we do everything in a computer and, you know what I mean? We can make, this guy, I can put something in where the tempo's fluctuating and it makes me a tempo map immediately.
Yeah.
That then, it's easy to follow. Again, another reason why I'm in the box these days, as opposed to trying to get this hardware to sync up, especially being in a band with a drummer who wouldn't play to a click track for the most part while I'm trying to use all this stuff. It was very challenging.
I mean, it sounds kind of healthy in a way that you guys would kind of battle it out and then kind of come to some sort of
No, I wouldn't. If someone says, "Well, do you wish your brother always played to a click track?" Hell no.
No.
I wouldn't want to change a thing. I wouldn't want to change a thing.
Was the dynamic like that in a lot of things with the band? Not just like click, but like where you would come in and...
They kind of, they all knew me. They all knew me well. These are guys I grew up with and stuff. And they just kind of saw me getting off on the deep end with the synths,
Well, maybe you were.
Sure. Oh, I definitely was. And they also saw that I could do a session. I could do 3 songs in one 3-hour session. That's what I would do for Quincy Jones or David Foster. And they would wonder, well, why can't you just do that for us?
Because this is mine.
Because it was my, you know what I mean? And I knew what the stuff was capable of. And I wanted to get the respect that an arranger would get, where it was like they could go home, write things out, take a look at things. You know what I'm saying? They weren't expected to improvise a string part, the way we were often. You know what I mean?
Right. We have to do it instantly.
We have to do it instantly. And I would typically do a pad pass, and then I do a single line thing. But I want to be able to write that out and think about it. And
you did on square paper? You would write it out?
Absolutely.
So you can see where the lines are going?
Absolutely. When I had the chance to. When it was Toto stuff, I wrote out everything. Yeah.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
Like the Rosanna?
Absolutely. Wound up being all written out. A lot of times we'd improvise stuff, but the Rosanna solo wound up being written out. So I could see. I want to see. A lot of times you get lucky and you could just wing it, but sometimes if you're trying to do something hip harmonically, there'd be, what we call harmonic confusion. Something would be rubbing against each other in a not so nice way, and I'd like to be able to see, oh, no wonder you're playing this note when this other thing's playing that note.
Right.
For the same reason composers with an orchestra didn't just wing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want it to be organized.
It's ironic, isn't it, that you're the synth guy doing all the technology, and you're kind of getting a little bit of friction because you want to do it like the old way.
Yeah.
You want to do it kind of the right way, where you can see what's going on.
I wanted to be like an arranger.
Yeah, and all it is, it's just like storyboarding or something. You're just calculating, and it doesn't mean that when you're actually putting the parts down that there's still plenty of leeway.
Yeah.
Especially on a synth, right? Because you can't write everything that a synth does, but that's kind of no different than certain soloists in classical music. You can't write everything that they do. You kind of have to work with them. You come up with your idea. Soloists will see, look what I can do. It's like, well, I didn't know you could even do that on a violin.
Sure. So, tell me about it. Listen to Ray Vaughan Williams, The Lark Ascending, what a solo violin is capable of doing. It's just amazing. Should we throw this part down?
Yeah.
Come on. Let's do this and move on. All right, here we go. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I think everyone gets the point.
Yes. Syncing.
Very good. Great. So you want to talk about what it was like in the studio with Michael?
Yeah, you had me sit in the chair.
You know what I'm saying?
I would.
Well, I wanted you to sit down for this.
I think it's good. I mean, I know a little bit about it. I know you have a really special ability to be sensitive and to collaborate.
Yes.
And this is an individual who really picked up on that and look what it led to. I mean, I would love to hear about how it all unfolded and what was going on with you during all of it.
Well, just in general, working with him, I started on Off the Wall. David Foster brought me in to program for him. In those days, he was bringing me wherever he went if he was doing synthesizers. And he had a couple songs on Off the Wall. So he brought me along, and that was the first time I worked with Michael and Quincy and Bruce Swedeen. And then I worked on every one of his albums except Invincible, the very last solo album.
Every one?
Every one of them.
Since Off the Wall?
Since Off the Wall.
In various capacities?
In various capacities, yes. In various capacities. Sometimes it was just an overdub. Sometimes I'd call him and say, there's really no room for anything except, maybe some light bell part or something like that. And then
you'd
that's
call
what
him?
I would do. Yeah, I would tell him. He'd call me and say, he usually he started calling, at one point I described something, I described some 16th notes as yadas. And he was like, "What's yadas?" And I told him they're constant 16th notes, yada, 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 And from then on, that was my nickname,
Is that where it came from?
Yeah.
Because I just asked you about that.
Yeah, it was yada.
You mean yada?
Yeah, yada. And he called anything 16th notes, like the arpeggiation in Human Nature was yadas to him. And
everything became yadas.
Anything that was, and then anything I did, he goes, "I need some of your yadas on there," yada, Anyway, he was a joy to work with. It was, later on, it got to be more distant. It kind of was I don't know. It wasn't as fun because it was more separate. But working on particularly Thriller and in particular he was great to work with. He was amazing and very professional, and he loved working with talented guys, and it was a joy, you know what I mean?
But he didn't really write with too many people. Few times, I guess. I don't really know of too many others, but you wrote a number of songs with him.
Well, we wrote two things right after Thriller. We wrote a couple things together. That was very cool. Things that have never been released yet. That I'm anxious for the world to hear them. But they will. They will eventually.
Two unheard Michael Jackson songs from the Thriller period.
Yes.
Which it certainly was a peak period. I mean.
Yeah. I mean, it really was like 2 weeks after we were completely done with Thriller. Because I was there in the studio at the very end. We were doing last-minute synth stuff. While Bruce Swedeen was mixing in one room, I was with Humberto in another room doing some last-minute synth overdubs on like Lady in My Life with Rod and some other things. So they were really cranking away. There
were so many. That was because of the E.T. Storybook album, right? All this stuff was going on, and then there was Matt Forger in B, and then sometimes he'd go off and do the E.T. thing, and then you'd have Umberto and.
Yep, absolutely.
So how did that all happen? Like, so we know the story of Human Nature. It's been well documented, right?
Sure.
The other songs, how did that happen?
He just, he had told me towards the end, we were doing a couple last minute, like I said, overdubs, and he mentioned that he had to jump right to another project with his brothers, the Victory album. And he mentioned he wanted to, he was hoping I could help him write and produce some stuff off of that album. And literally 2 weeks after Thriller was done, he started showing up. He lived in Encino with his family, as you know. And David Paich was in Sherman Oaks, just like a couple miles away. And he would show up by himself sometimes. I gave him a tape of some things I was working on. The first thing we did, Chicago 1945. I'd give him a tape of just a synth jam I had done. I had just gotten my Oberheim and the DSX, and I had reset up my stuff in the studio, and to check things out, I had just recorded some like jams I did, just fooling around. And I'd given him a tape of that, and one of them he really latched onto. And then after that...
what happened? He took it and then...
He took it, and then about a week later, I was at the studio at David Paich's house, and I actually had a bunch of people over, some technical people doing stuff, and Michael just showed up at the front door, said he wanted to throw a vocal
Unannounced.
Unannounced. He said he wanted to throw a vocal.
You might have been there, you might not have even have been
there. Exactly. He knew I kind of lived there. I was,
he knew where you were.
I was always there.
Okay.
He came over, I asked the people to go wait out in the backyard for a little while, and he came in, and it was the most unbelievable thing I'd ever seen. He did 9 vocal passes, beginning to end, on this song we were working on. Beginning to end, and did the lead vocals, doubles, backgrounds, harmonies, like just all the way through. I never stopped the tape once. He just would go through the whole song, then he'd say, give me another track. We'd go through the whole song, he'd say, give me another track. He did that 9 times, and he said, I'm out of here. And he left.
Had you heard the lyrics or the melodies before he showed up at the door?
Never.
So he showed up at the door with basic your track that you put down with finished lyrics and vocals.
Yes.
And 9 straight passes with harmonies. Michael laid down Chicago 1942.
Never stopped once and said, you know what, I sang the wrong part, go back and punch me in.
He didn't do that.
Never, all the way through, top to bottom, 9 times and left. And it was this perfect vocal. I just removed, he was doing a lot of hiccups and his vocal sounds. I had to get rid of some of those so there weren't so many of them. And that was it. And then just a few days after that, it's like 9 a.m. in the morning. I'm up, and the door, someone knocks at the door, and I open it, and there's Michael. He goes, let's do something. And I hated writing nose to nose with anybody because I was always afraid of drawing a blank, And we just sat down and we wrote this second song, Dream Away, nose to nose. He grabbed a book that was laying around, started writing some lyrics, and I just started playing this thing on piano and on actually a MIDI keyboard that was brand new, had just come out, this Roland electric piano that actually had MIDI output.
So you put a basic track down on piano.
Yeah, and he just sang a lead vocal. We put it together real quick, just one sitting.
And then did you finish it out?
Yeah, and then I finished it after the fact. I always thought there'd be plenty of time to finish these with Michael, but unfortunately we lost him in 2010. And these were all both on tape. And I was like, I need to finish these things. I've got the vocals.
He did backgrounds on that one too?
There were no backgrounds on it.
So just the lead.
Mm-hmm.
What you guys would have continued doing too. It's like you.
Yeah, I wish there was more time. I always thought, right, you always think there's all the time in the world,
What do you think the connection was? Why did you and him, the whole way Human Nature went down, it was just sort of, it just like had to happen. It just seemed like that song had to find him, and then you guys found each other. You're similar in a certain way. And
we're the same exact age, and or there's a few months of the year where the exact age. Quincy had so much to do with it. Quincy was the one that I would have never presented Human Nature to Quincy because it was this unfinished demo, that you can hear on the internet with me singing the same verse over and over again, and it was this unfinished song. That I would have never turned in. And they were not looking for a mid-tempo ballad. They already had that. They were looking for an up-tempo rock thing, at the time. And Quincy was the one who heard it accidentally and just kind of just loved the atmosphere of it all.
But it somehow screamed through like under a rock, because the presentations of demos to get on Thriller, they were complete things. People were like going in studios and doing, and Human Nature was like your demo, and it was just like you repeating something. But there was enough
with me singing. You know what I mean?
It just tells you though how powerful the actual DNA of a song can be, right? To me, this is like one of the most outstanding examples of that, because it screamed through.
Sure.
That it was like this had to see.
Sure.
The day, and
even on my demo when I was singing Why, I had 2 separate tape echoes hooked up. So why? You know, I had him set up 2 individual tape slaps. It wasn't one with regeneration on or feedback on. I was going for a thing where I wanted that third slap to be able, that second slap to be as loud as the original if I wanted to be. And it was those kind of details on my demo that I think really caught Quincy's ear.
It transcended like the low quality of maybe the demo.
Sure, exactly.
Because it puts you, it's almost like, and it was at a period of music where MTV, the advent of all these things, it was becoming like more of a visual, like record making, a little bit more of a visual art. And I think Human Nature, maybe as the demo, would stand out. You could kind of imagine it more of what it could be.
But I got to give it to Quincy. He took it and he asked me once I turned in my verse lyrics, he asked me if he could let a lyricist take a shot at the verse lyrics, and I was fine with that. And John Bettis, who doesn't get mentioned enough, wrote those verse lyrics and did an incredible job. And another one, you know, Quincy let me do my demo pretty much exactly as my demo was, but one of the things he did was bring in Steve Lukather to do that guitar part, which made it a Michael Jackson song.
Yeah.
You know, it really made it R&B. So I've really got to hand it to Quincy that he really, that's what a great producer does, you know.
Did you love it when the guitar went down?
You know, the second I heard it, I hated it because it was the one thing that was so different. You know how that is when you listen to something so many times.
So much.
When something's different, you're noticing something different. So at first I hated it because it was the one thing that was different than my demo, but 10 seconds later, I saw the wisdom in it.
Oh, right away. That's so right away.
Yeah. I usually quip that 40 million records later, I saw the wisdom in it. But I got it right away, you know. It made it R&B. It made it Michael.
Yeah.
know?
And it just also supports it, and it doesn't...
He loved my title, though. I had that title. I had that chorus verbatim, you know, the why part, you know, and tell him that it's human nature. Why do they do it that way?
Yeah, and I hear that in all of your music. There's sort of this inspired and visual thing that you do, and it's like, you know, you the way you make your sounds too, with that third dimension, you know, all of that. That's something, and I guess how you're wired, you know, when the way you create, right? You think in that way, so everything you do kind of goes through that filter, I guess. You know, that's how I perceive it. You know, everybody perceives things differently, but
yeah, it's what's important to me. You know what I mean? It's and I was so lucky that Quincy heard it and he got it. He right away. It was that atmosphere. I keep going back to that. That what really caught his attention was this. You know, I try to write songs where you feel like you're in a place, where there's that atmosphere, literally, where you feel you're somewhere.
Like you're transported.
Yeah, you know, like you're somewhere.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be identifiable. But it's transporting you out of the reality you're in to some...
Maybe that's figuratively, I don't know. Anyway, he got it. He got it.
Well, see, a lot of times it takes history to do that, where like if you heard a song in middle school or something and then you hear it later in life, it transports you to that feeling that you had.
Sure.
Right? Music can do that. It induces your senses.
Sure.
But you did it like before there was even the history. I think, you know, it's there. I remember the first time I heard Human Nature. It felt like it transported me.
Cool.
And it's kind of still does. I mean, it's like a really... one of the best songs.
I was very lucky. He let me recreate my demo pretty much verbatim in the studio. And he added Michael Boddicker on an overdub. He added Paulinho on some very cool percussion. But it was pretty much, he let me do my demo. And he added Luke, and he brought in a great lyricist to give the song a narrative. And then Michael, you know, what Michael brought to the table can't be understated. What a amazing talent, great singer, and what he would bring to the table on a song is just, you know, I was so lucky I got to have one turn out that way.
Count your blessings.
Yep.
I actually had a stab at it. I'm on there somewhere, or it was removed.
Yeah, most of what I did with
honestly.
Quincy, whether it was, believe me, on Thriller and on most stuff, Quincy would put a tune up and he'd go, "Do you hear anything on this?" And I would always say yes. I'd always say, "Yes, I hear something." And I would get up a sound. And then if it was really good, I'd see him talking to Bruce. And then I usually had to take a break because they had to erase. They had to make some room.
So
they were
something.
erasing some other synth parts. So I knew, believe me, there's several other songs on Thriller that I did parts on that didn't wind up on the finished product. So I'm sure my stuff got erased as much as anyone else's did.
Maybe not as much, but yeah, I mean, that was like, even with all the multi-track machines, right? With the recording style that Bruce had with syncing up all these machines.
Sure. But they didn't like to have that many, you know what I mean? They kind of, as they went along, they didn't just save everything. Later on, it got a little more, we all got a little more indulgent with all that. But then, in those days, it was...
It was a big deal locking up all those machines.
Sure.
And I remember them going down, and then everybody would take a long break. It was like, the machines aren't locking. So that was a whole other thing.
So for the most part, he wanted to make some decisions right then and there. He didn't just want to sort through it all later. Should we do this little piece? This little part of it? What do you say?
Yeah, let's talk. What are we going to do?
So I sent you that, the Oberheim part, that transition thing we did earlier where we put it in unison and then take it out of unison and have the chords slide up and peel off into the individual notes. Okay. And here, since we have this Jupiter 8 sitting here, I'll play a little bit of the arpeggio part that David P.Y.T came up with, and I programmed the sound to at the intro.
So I get to play along, and we have a little LM1.
Sure, pretty much doing the beat that it did on the on Human Nature.
Is that what you did the demo on, that LM1?
And that kind of, we also recorded it. My brother Jeff played along.
All right, let's give it let's fly. This is probably like your dad and a Jeff word, elope.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You've heard them say that, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Do you hear that in this?
Mm-hmm. And he also had Paulinho on Human Nature was playing some percussion along with it.
Because there's a little bit of a swing to the shaker thing.
Totally.
It's not stiff, it's not a yada.
Right? Hey. Watch your language. Here we go. You ready?
As much as I'm going to be.
So just speaking about the other keyboards on Human Nature, the basic Rhodes part was, there was Rhodes on every song on Human Nature played by Greg Fillinganes, except, on Thriller, except Human Nature, I was playing a Yamaha GS1 was the Rhodes part.
And that's
the Rhodes
you.
Sound, yes. Yeah, Quincy liked the way I was kind of ghosting the melody and all that. So there was that, and then there was definitely a CS80 part, along with probably a Prophet 5 doing strings. We both did, David P.Y.T mostly did some string parts. The bass part was done with a Jupiter 8. For what reason we used the Jupiter, I had no idea why it wasn't the Moog.
Well, you can put it in the unison mode.
I didn't, though.
It was just a regular oscillator mode.
Mm-hmm. And also the Jupiter is what we used for that sequence, that arpeggiator part that David P.Y.T came up with. I programmed it, the sound, and programmed it in the computer. So we were able to lock it up and have it be nailed.
And then there was percussion.
Percussion was done by, my brother Jeff kind of doubled the drum tracks.
He doubled it?
He kind of didn't double it. He kind of ghosted it. He kind of played along and gave it a human touch to it a little bit.
Even kick?
I don't remember exactly. We could listen to the multi-track at some point.
I'm so curious about that.
Yeah, it was very subtle. And then what wasn't quite so subtle was Paulinho. played some percussion, and Michael Boddicker did an emulator part, did a vocal emulator part, doing one of my lines, one of my background vocal lines. That was Michael Boddicker. Yeah.
Great.
So those were
he
the
did so
keyboards on
much.
tour.
Yeah, he contributed so many like really memorable keyboard lines.
Yeah, Michael was always. I remember I gave him a hard time one time because I was on some session he wasn't, and I'll never forget Michael saying to me, he goes, "You know, I'm just thrilled to be on the team," and I always remembered that.
What a great thing to say.
And I always felt the same way. That you know, I know wasn't going to do all the synths all the time, but it was always a thrill to be on the team.
That shut you up, probably.
It did.
If you were trying to mess with it.
It did.
Yeah, but you know, we were all learning from the people. But you know, I mean it in a sense.
Right now.
But I mean it in a sincere way, though. It's almost like we learned from the people before us.
Sure.
You know, and people that would refer us to do sessions, because that's how a lot of the stuff happened, right? I would get referred by Clark Spangler, other synthesizer players, keyboard players.
I mean, Quincy, I never felt at all that he was wasting money, or it was never like money is no object. You know, Quincy ran a pretty tight ship, but he would, especially when it came to synthesizers, he would bring in, like we were just talking about, he'd bring in different guys that, you know, different guys had their strengths. Different guys would, you know, because he rarely would tell me what to do. He sometimes would play me something from another record that he wanted a part to be like. But I would say to him, you know, and we'd be A and Bing my sound, the sound on another record, and I'd be like, come on, let's get some fresh sound. Let's get something we haven't heard before.
But it was a starting place. You know, I was fine with that. And I think it was just looking for a point of view, to bring another point of view to it, and then they would kind of decide. But there was, like, Michael used to put sounds on the turntable. Did he ever do that with you?
Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
No.
He did that a lot with me on the turntable, and he'd play like Morris Day and the Time licks, or Prince or something like that, and he'd say like that. And it was a starting point, and then I'd get that sound, because it's not that song, so you have to still tailor it to the song. And I talk a lot about this in my course, Think Like a Synth, how important it is. And I don't know if you think this way, but like I tailor the envelopes to the song so that it breathes, so it leaves space in the hole so that the snare can speak through. I don't always have to everything just like plowing through the bar, you know?
Absolutely.
And so I would like use those as starting points, and then tailor it to the song. And then, you know, a lot of times mostly Greg would come in and play it. And then, like we've talked about earlier, where we'd like jump in and just add a little more resonance or do a little something like that.
Sure, I always struggled with string sounds because I was trying to make them, I didn't want them to sound like synths. I wanted them to sound like real sounds, like real strings. And so I would kind of back off the filter. You know, when the tape was stopped, I would back off the filter to kind of make it sound as realistic as I could. But then in the track, it would sound like alto flutes or something. It would be way too mellow. So it was interesting that when I would tweak my sound, I started learning to tweak while the track was running.
It helps.
And then once the tape stopped, though, I'd be very tempted. I didn't want to hear that sound by itself.
You didn't like
because it would usually be too buzzy or too bright. Or
Me too.
The filter was too wide open. But in the track.
But when you have a great engineer, he puts it in there where it's supposed to be, because it really matters where he puts that level.
Yeah.
It's going to affect how bright you're making the sound, and then you know, it doesn't work in the mix if it's wrong.
That was often where I, working especially with Bruce Swedien, I would, when my stuff would be sounding too muddy or cloudy, I would turn to Bruce and go, Bruce, help me out. You know, my low end's kind of cloudy. It's, you know what I mean? I'm having trouble with the sound speaking, and Bruce would do his thing and do some great EQ and do some compression or whatever. And then he was, it was great because then he would be kind of invested in the sound and the part, and it might get up there in the mix a little bit more.
Well, that's you being smart. But I think synths need that, though. Just, it's like always right out of the box, isn't like...
They needed all the help they could get.
Yeah.
They needed all the help they could get. That's why my stuff would usually be going through a space echo and stuff. I was trying to, you know, that too brought up a big difference between the way the English guys would record, which would be to go ahead and record the effect to tape put it down with the effect. Whereas quite often in LA, the LA way of recording was, we'll do that in the mix.
Oh, I must be part English. I'm so much about, I mean, now it's a luxury that you can record 2 different tracks or 2 stereo tracks and print it, and then the engineer could have it in the mix, but it's like,
sure,
I want to hear it. Like every time it comes up, I don't want to all of a sudden hear it dry, and it's not, because it's filling in a space, right? And then something else is going to sure enough come in and take over that space, and then the effect doesn't work anymore.
Right.
Right? Because there's only so much room. It's like, it's a glass,
really
and
true.
you fill it up, and it's going to just overflow. Like if you have to keep room in the glass throughout the song too. You have to be emptying the glass, removing. That's how I visualize it. Right?
Yep.
So that's why I like the effects on there. I want to hear them.
Sure.
And playing them too. Think about that, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Your yadas, that wouldn't even exist if you do that. You commit that, don't you?
Absolutely. Well, you have. That's part.
You have to.
That's the other half of the sound of the part.
Which is the delay. So Steve play. Maybe we should demonstrate that.
We can do some yadas. Yadas are easy.
Do a quick yada. What do you like to do that on?
I could do it on anything. Let's do it on a Prophet. Let's use this Prophet. Do some yadas.
Let's go.
Okay? Just like that. It sounds good. Yep, you can fool around like that. But mostly those first 2, okay? Here we go. Let's try this. Some yadas. I'm going to give you a bar free, and then you start playing whenever you want. 3, 4. That was beautiful. Just beautiful.
And then you just put delays on it? Mm-hmm. I have a slow pulse width mod going on it just to make it different.
Sounds cool.
So this was a Michael special. Like he liked this.
Yeah.
Nice. Spacey. Yeah, you got it just right in there. Yeah, and then pull it down.
Yeah, the thing is to get it that the delay is as loud as the original.
So they're even. Mm-hmm. But then you got to pull the whole thing down. I see.
So it's a constant yada, 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 yada.
That's the yada, yada.
Now we're bringing it right there. So here's our transition. Anyway, those are yadas. What do you think?
I mean, this has just been, it's like a dream for me.
Likewise.
To hang with you in your studio and do all this stuff. You know, the first time I saw that Oberheim was in the garage of your parents' house.
Wow, really?
When I was there for a party your sister was having with some friends. And, you know, I kind of secretly went in there and I didn't turn it on.
You did what?
I'm admitting this is a confession. And I was thinking, wow. I mean, all this great synth stuff, and then...
I was wondering why it sounded so good after that party.
I tuned it for you. Yeah, and there was a Fender Rhodes there. And that's the two things that I remember. It was like a beautiful suitcase, I think, Fender Rhodes. And then here we are now, cut to a lot of decades later, and, you know, a lot of path crossing, knowing your family, you know, throughout all this time, and then getting to know you. So thank you so much for bringing all this great emotion, music, stories, passion to the channel.
Great.
And, you know, I loved just hanging out with you, and I just learned things throughout this whole 2 days that we've been doing this.
Well, likewise. Likewise, seriously. Before you go, we're going to go over this 2600 trick that you showed me.
I'll show you. I got another one that's really fun.
I'm going to make sure I can do it after you leave.
We'll do that.
You know?
So check out my course, Think Like a Synth. You can get it. That's a deep dive into a lot of this kind of stuff, and it goes really module by module, and it's a very musical approach. I'm not very technical, so that's what that's for. It's my method that I've, you know, worked on over the years. Be sure to check out Steve's new album.
Yes, please do. The Very Day. Yes, check out my new album, The Very Day. I'm very excited about it, and I've actually, a lot of this stuff that we're doing, there's all kinds of yadas on my album, and swoop ups and stuff like that.
Guests,
yes. Absolutely.
You want them to discover them?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
So go out there and check it out and discover who the special guests are. You're going to be impressed. Mm-hmm. And Steve's going to be, he's already launched his YouTube channel and his social media on Instagram. So look for that. There's going to be more to come, right? And you're going to get into more of these kinds of deep dives. And there's a whole lot more here, you know. He's, I just looked up to him. He just made incredible sounds, and I was inspired. And here I am. I get to be here. Thanks all of you. Thank you all for supporting the channel and watching these videos. So,
and we'll thank Rob again, Rob Rosen, for bringing these great synths.
The final shout out goes to Rob Rosen for supplying us with the synths today, all in working order.
Yes, sound fantastic.
See you on the next video.